Hey, I'm Ocean, and romance movies suck, and I can probably narrow it down to one phrase that encapsulates why I think most of them suck, and that phrase is, I don't believe it. For me to enjoy a romance movie or to like it at all, I have to feel and believe that the two romantic interests in the movie are actually deeply in love with each other. And 90% of the time, I just don't believe it. It feels very contrived. It feels like the writers are forcing two characters together with implausible, far fetched, inconceivable situations that almost nobody's ever experienced in real life. And it just feels very forced very often. Often, what it feels like is the writers or the people making the movie are just like, well, what if we take this really attractive actor and this really attractive actress? Wouldn't their babies be so cute? Let's create a situation where they would get together for some reason. That's what it feels like to me when I watch a lot of these movies. Like, again, like 99% of them, I just don't feel the romance at all. I don't feel what they're feeling. And if you aren't getting me to feel what your characters feel, then I'm not going to be into it. And another problem I have is that a lot of these movies, these romance movies, they have no depth to them. And romance by itself is not going to be enough to make a plot interesting because romance and butterfly-ish feelings, they're so common, it's so generic. It's like you're making a movie about the emotion sadness or a movie about fear or something. It's like, it's generic, right? A lot of times the plots are not very interesting. It's just like, oh, I lived in this city, and then I go to the country place where there's horses, and I'm mad that I'm not in the city anymore, but there's a cute boy, and he's got a horse, and I fall in love with the horse and the boy, and there's been like 50 movies that are like that, where it's like, that's a really boring, generic plot where nothing happens, and they often write themselves into a corner with these types of movies. So what they do is they have to have the male character usually, but sometimes the female character, out of nowhere just start acting like a jerk when they were so wonderful before, like acting completely out of character. Now, to be fair, in real life, sometimes people can surprise you, but I feel like with the writing, it never feels natural. It never feels like it's coming from a physical, natural place. It feels like, well, we don't have real conflicts because we don't have a real plot because all this movie is about is two people liking each other. So we have to create an antagonist through this person's personality suddenly just changing and just going nuts. You know, that's why Hugh Grant in what's that movie called? Music and Lyrics. He all of a sudden becomes real life Hugh Grant and he's mean to Drew Barrymore when he was movie version of Hugh Grant for the rest of that movie. Yeah, there's mainly two or three romance movies that I like. Uh, Mainly two. The two ones that I like are Definitely Maybe and what's the other one? Sabrina, the 1950s version starring Audrey Hepburn, and I've talked about how I love Audrey Hepburn a lot. But yeah, I love those movies a lot because even though I don't completely believe with Definitely Maybe, I believe it more than most romance movies, and even though it has like the whole oh, we're running into each other contrivances. It does it in a creative way with like telling all these different stories, and the comedy is clever in that movie, and they just do things in a unique way, and the dialogue and the situations are actually clever. I find in that movie. And Sabrina, the 1950s one, again, that's like the only romance movie I've seen where I actually fully believe these two people are in love with each other. It's Humphrey Bogart's character and Audrey Hepburn's character, Linus and Sabrina. And the reason why it felt so believable to me is because they weren't even like into each other at all early on, and then things just randomly change. And think she has this whole dream guy that she thinks is going to be her number one, her everything, and then it feels natural the way it shifts from her dream guy to like, oh, I've changed to this new man that I'm interested in. It feels natural the way they did it. And I love the comedy in that movie. I think it's so funny, and I really feel for the characters, and I I felt connected to them when I was watching it. I don't watch a lot of black and white movies, but it's definitely like top 3 favorite black and white movies if I'm ranking them. Yeah, that's just one of the few movies where I actually felt it, because I've been in love before and I know what it feels like, and 99% of these movies, they don't feel like love. They feel very shallow, surface level, and even when these characters get into like describing why they love each other, it sounds like two teenagers like talking about why the other one is so cute. It's like, I love that you laugh at my jokes. I love how much you love me. It's like, no. It's like, and it's so generic, and it feels like they're taking phrases from every other romance movie and copying and pasting it on to the next movie, when there's a lot of depth you could get out of it. And these movies are so generic. Oh, another romance movie I like, actually. Here's another one that I like. I like this movie called Paterson, and that's not really a romance movie, but the romance in that one is so good because, one, I believed it. I believe that they love each other. The reason why I believe that they love each other, like the movie Paterson is about a poet who's a bus driver, and he writes all these poems and stuff. That's what it's mainly about. But what I love about the romance in that movie is it's just a healthy, beautiful, loving, nice relationship that he has with his wife, and nothing goes wrong in the relationship. She doesn't randomly start acting like a jerk. He doesn't randomly start acting like a jerk. He doesn't cheat out of nowhere. He doesn't do something completely out of character to create a conflict in the plot. He doesn't do that. Their romance is completely healthy throughout the whole thing, and I believe that they love each other. They're so tender, and like they seem comfortable with each other, the way that the actors are behaving around each other. That's probably my favorite, even though that's not a romance movie, that's probably my favorite romance that I've seen in a movie, because it's just a healthy romance where nothing goes wrong, and that's so refreshing, because in most movies, there's some stupid, inane reason why things go wrong, and then the guy has to run through a fucking airport, or he has to jump up on stage and sing a stupid song, and it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, there's one movie where it has some of those tropes, but because the writing aspect of the movie, in terms of like them describing the writing process, was so well done that I forgive it. And that movie's called Music and Lyrics, and I talked about it earlier. It had Hugh Grant in it and Drew Barrymore, and that has some of the tropes where it's like he randomly acts like a jerk and then he has to sing her a song, but I give that movie an excuse, because that movie is, even though it's a romance movie, it's mainly about writing, the art of writing, the art of songwriting, the writing process, and the romance thing kind of feels a little secondary to me. It doesn't feel like it's the main thing. So I forgive that movie for that. But again, like, it's all you have to do to create a unique romance movie is just not have anything do wrong, and just be creative enough with the direction and how you execute the story that you don't need a conflict within the romance. Like, there's other things that can be a conflict. Like that movie Paterson, even though it's about like a normal day-to-day things, there are conflicts that happen. Like the dog chews up the guy's poetry book. Like, there's things that they deal with, right? Like day-to-day things, but they're just a healthy couple, and that's nice to see. You know, maybe we should stop idolizing couples who are throwing freaking shoes and toasters at each other. It's like, let's not do that. You know, let's not have every single romance that we see be toxic and horrible in every movie in the exact same way over and over again, to the point where it's generic, to where the writing suffers, the movie suffers, and people who watch it suffer because they idolize that. Anyways, I didn't really prepare for this. I don't prepare for any videos, but I just wanted to spew out my thoughts on that. And yeah, have a good day.